Rachel Frantz is one of our leaders of a MiCorps stream program. I mentioned how we have watershed councils, conservation districts, different groups that get these grants. When you get one of these grants to run a monitoring program, we also ask that leader to give a presentation at the MiCorps conference. Because she's been operational now for 2 years with this program and has experience under her belt for understanding how these things work. So the goal is then for Rachel to share with us her experiences and knowledge and lessons learned, and help other people who are considering doing this kind of from the standpoint of someone who just kind of started it all. Let me give you a little bit of information about Rachel. After graduating from Western Michigan University, she worked with ELGRO, the Lower Grand River Organization of Watersheds, for a few years as a programs associate. Then in 2021, she moved to her current position at Berry Conservation District. She got this MiCorps grant in 2024. But in addition to working on the MiCorps program, she serves as the recycling coordinator for Berry County. She's currently working on a watershed grant for the Thornapple River Watershed Council, where she's finishing up a mapping project for the Mud Creek watershed, and is currently also going to be looking at a project with septic systems on Thornapple Lake and Mud Creek, High Bank Creek, and the upper Thornapple River watershed. So anyone who's from that neck of the woods and interested in those particular water bodies, Rachel is the local expert on talking about them. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, Rachel. I'm going to turn my video off, but I'll be here listening and watching for questions as they come in.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. Yeah, we're really excited for the 319 septic system inspection and replacement grant, but we'll talk about that more when it comes around. So good morning. Again, my name is Rachel Frantz, and I am the program coordinator for Berry Conservation District. Today, I'm reporting out on the MiCorps stream monitoring grant for the Thornapple River watershed. We couldn't do this great work without our valuable partners like the Thornapple River Watershed Council, Lower Grand River Organization of Watersheds, and Pierce Cedar Creek Institute. Throughout this project period, we have done habitat assessments and sampled 7 total sites. We used a variety of outreach techniques to attract volunteer signups and received a total of 59 signups. 40 of those were able to actually come and participate in one or more training or event. We held 3 leader and collector trainings, which trained a total of 19 volunteers. We held our first sampling event in September of 2024 and have completed both the spring and fall sampling this year. And we have had a total of 102 volunteer hours through these events. The identification workshops were led by Matt Bain, the aquatic specialist and education coordinator at ELGRO. Matt gave volunteers an introduction to macroinvertebrate identification, key characteristics to look for, and taught volunteers how to use the Rail app to assist in identification. Our first workshop was held at the Berry County Titan Center, and the following 2 were held at Pierce Cedar Creek Institute's lab, which had many benefits, including access to quality equipment like multiple microscopes, which aided in proper identification of many species. So these are all of the sites that I talked about, all 7. We chose sites throughout the watershed. 2 of these sites were requested by a couple of different Eagle staff for monitoring and include, hopefully you can see my cursor there, Berry 137 up here, and then also Berry 202. Berry 137 is near the mouth of the river in Cascade, and Berry 202 is on the main stem of the Thornapple where the Irving Dam was is and had failed. The other sites were chosen based on past monitoring, accessibility, property ownership, and specific water quality concerns. We'll go into those. So Berry 137 has a history of pollution runoff coming from the Gerald R. Ford Airport's use of PFAS-containing aqueous film-forming foam that was used for de-icing. The average stream width is between 10 and 25 feet, and the average depth is less than 1 foot. There was foam present during the habitat assessment, but it appeared to be natural. When the site was previously sampled in 2008, the water quality rating was poor for both the spring and the fall sampling. According to a news article from Cairns Grand Rapids in 2012, the airport hired a firm to remedy a stormwater runoff issue caused by its annual use of de-icing fluids. During our sampling, the site received a water quality rating of fair the first 2 samples and good the last sample. It does appear to be improving, so we do plan continuing monitoring the site. The next site is Berry 202, and that was the one with the Irving Dam. This site was requested by Eagle staff due to the dam previously failing and since being repaired. The average stream width here is between 25 and 50 feet, and it is more than 5 feet deep. Due to this, the site was deemed unsafe after our first sampling event. One of our volunteers did trip and fill their waders. You can see she's not quite as tall as our other volunteer there. So water levels at this time were slightly higher than normal. However, it's just generally too deep for anyone who's not 6 feet tall or taller. Additionally, it's difficult to access from both sides. So getting a good sample wasn't super easy. So for the one sampling event, the total abundance was 112, and it did receive a water quality rating of 5.4 in the good range. And this site might be reconsidered for monitoring at a later date if we have enough willing and tall volunteers. Berry 118 is a beautiful site on Glass Creek on the north end of the Michigan Audubon Otis Bird Sanctuary in Hastings. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it. The site is moderately difficult to access, but volunteers would set up their table on the street, and then the collector and runner will climb down to where the culvert is, right here on Goodwill Road, and then go in and collect their samples and have to bring that bucket back up to the pickers. On the east and west side of the sampling site, there is some cropland. However, there is a good buffer of wooded area between. And throughout the bird sanctuary, the creek is surrounded by freshwater and forested wetlands. South of the sanctuary, in the headwaters, there is a gravel pit that has been in place since at least 2004. I couldn't find any previous records than that. The site was previously sampled in 2008 and had actually scored poor for both the spring and fall events. Through our sampling, though, the site has had stable water quality scores with an average total abundance of over 200 and a water quality rating between 4.1 and 4.8. We will probably continue monitoring the site, and if things don't change, we'll monitor less often. Berry 200 is in the Coldwater River right before the confluence with the Thornapple River, right there. It's a beautiful site. It's slightly difficult to access, but it's easy enough. The average stream width is over 50 feet, and has an average stream depth of over 3 feet. There is regularly trash tires and abandoned clothing items found in this area, and there's only room for 1 car to park street side. The 2 River Green space, which is just right here, does have additional parking, but then requires volunteers to walk along Whitneyville Avenue to reach the sampling area, which, if you're not familiar, is a pretty busy road. So I don't always feel very safe sending all volunteers here. The site scored fairly well throughout the project period, with an average total abundance of 252 and a water quality rating between 5.3 and 5.9. The Coldwater River Watershed Council has also been monitoring multiple sites upstream and throughout the Coldwater River watershed, and we'll talk about that in a little while. The Thornapple River at Nashville, the previous site of the Nashville Dam, Berry 201, was chosen for its accessibility and its history with the Conservation District. This site is located in the village of Nashville, right behind Good Time Pizza, and it previously had a dam which was removed through a district grant in 2009 through a partnership with the DNR and EPA. Since the first sampling in the fall of last year, the site has improved slightly, as you can see. And we plan to continue monitoring. The average total abundance is 175, and it has scored fair the first 2 events and then very good at the most recent event. The site is expected to experience some additional changes with the potential installation of a kayak launch or some other kind of public access site. So we do plan to continue monitoring that site to see how that changes things. Now, Berry 203 is located at the confluence of Highbait Creek right here and the Thornapple River at Thornapple Lake. Camp Thornapple is a seasonal campground who is allowing us to conduct sampling events in the area between their little bridge and the lake, which is almost exactly 300 feet. The site is very accessible and is between 10 and 25 feet wide and averages about 2 feet in depth. Their surrounding habitat, however, is low quality with lawn on both sides and did have a potentially artificial sheen during the habitat assessment. Despite this, though, the water quality rating has ranged from 4.4 to 5.8 with an improving trend. The average total abundance is just over 140. Many of the seasonal residents, campers, and staff have shown interest in the project, so we plan to continue monitoring and hope to attract more volunteers through the campground. A little more on Highbait Creek. It does begin down in Fine Lake in southern Berry County and flows through a few more small residential lakes before flowing 13 miles and emptying into the Thornapple Lake. We would like to pursue an additional sampling site in the future downstream at right upstream of the lakes or downstream of the lakes before this site at Lacey Road, which was also previously sampled between 2006 and 2008 and scored fair to good. Our final site was added after a couple of our volunteers had offered to allow access to their site on Fall Creek. This site is close to another previous monitoring site, Berry 103, which is just downstream a bit. It had scored good to excellent from 2006 to 2008, the Berry 103. So this site, nestled right in the city of Grand Rapids, has its headwaters in Cloverdale and Wilkinson Lake, then Long Lake, as well as some other smaller lakes. It flows through Lower Berry County, and then it goes underground briefly under the library in the city, and then it empties into the Thornapple River. So far, this site has had an average total abundance of 130, and the water quality rating has been 5.5 both times. We do plan to continue this site as long as the homeowners allow. So here I've just put all of our sites scores, and it does say negative. That was the only way I could get the scale to look the way, or the graph to look the way I wanted it to look. So we've got excellent here at 0 and then very poor down here at 10. So just ignore the negative signs there. But this way you can kind of see that our sites are, for the most part, stable. Some are improving. So it'll be interesting to watch these trends as we continue to collect data. So this is what I'm really excited about. I thought it would be cool to see all of the data for the watershed. So I put it in an interactive map. I downloaded both Eaton Conservation District and Coldwater River Watershed Council's MiCorps data and added it with our own data, as well as all of the past data in the Thornapple River watershed. So the map is still a work in progress. I'd like to be able to show trends a little more clearly, but if you're interested, just keep an eye on our website, berrycd.org. And I will probably keep playing around with that and updating it. So we'll just go into that really quick. Hopefully you all can see the map. So like I said, it's an interactive map. We'll just start up here at Berry 137. So the most recent data entry will be on top, and then you can see there are some others below it. However, you can still see all together when you click on it. Here you can see there's one of 5 entries. So each entry will say what the stream is, the ID, the category, and the sample date. And then at the top, we do have the actual score. So if you click on this 1 through 5, you can see all of the different sampling dates for this site. So back in 2008, it was poor. And then you can see each date there, or each sampling event there. We do have data from the pre-2021 as well. So that's why not all of these points will have the water quality rating score. Some just have the category. So here in the cold water, you can see they've got 20 entries. They seem to do a lot more monitoring than we do, and they've been doing it for quite some time. So that's really interesting and a good way, I think, to be able to see how those trends are changing. Hopefully we're back in the map now. And then I'd just like to end by giving a huge shout out to the staff of the Berry Conservation District, the BCK SISMA, Elgro, and Pierce Cedar Creek Institute, and of course, all of our other volunteers. We had a lot of fun this past year and a half, almost 2 years now, with this project. I think we've all learned a lot. We've made a lot of friends, and I think we've just had a pretty good time. So with that, thank you for allowing me to present today. Sorry I speak kind of fast, but if there are any questions, I would be happy to take those at this time.
Yeah, so there is a question, and so I'll relay that to you. It's from Noah Jansen. Rachel, what methods did you find to be the most effective way to recruit volunteers?
I did almost everything exclusively through social media, but also our partners through the grant shared those as well on their social medias. We also did share some signups at events. However, I noticed that a lot of the people that signed up at events didn't follow through. So we had to sign up on our website, we posted on social media accounts, and our partners' accounts, and the social media seemed to work best. And I think pictures of people in the field having fun, like the picture at the beginning that Joe shared, was one of my first. That picture was from our training, and it's actually staff and partners. But you can see they're just having a great time, and that's what worked for us.
Okay. Any other questions? Type them in. Let's see if I have one for you, Rachel. So you talked a lot about safety, which I appreciate. Like all of us who run these programs know that having everyone come back safe is the number one consideration always. How about in terms of, so this is just totally open. I have no expectations of how you'll answer it. How about in terms of data quality? Like what different things have you found that have been useful to like make sure the volunteers, I don't follow the procedure as best as possible?
I would say identifying the leader beforehand so that I know, I've become pretty familiar with a lot of the volunteers. And honestly, a lot of our leads and collectors have either been from partner organizations or from within the Berry Conservation District. So I know that either they've gone through an actual, not just a training through me, but a training from you, or they've been trained by Matt Bain from Elgro. And honestly, if they've been trained through either of those ways, I 100% trust that they're following procedure and that they're instructing their teams to also then follow procedure, and they're overseeing a good sample event. I also did attend the first two sampling events. The last one, I tried to just play the role as the project manager and not go out, which was difficult. But just, making sure that I identify who's leading and who's collecting before they go out, so I can be sure that, or I'm confident that they know what they're doing, so I can trust their data.
Yeah, I've noticed that some of the smaller programs, when they first start, the person in your position will go out with every single team, and at some point that becomes untenable. There's like you get too many people, and you have to turn over that level of trust to your high level leaders. Okay, I got a couple more questions, actually a bunch. So Matt, you just mentioned Matt. He has a question for you. Matt Bain, what element of the project are you most looking forward to in 2026?
Well, I'd really like to expand just a few more locations, maybe just 2 more locations, ideally ones that have been monitored in the past. The 2006 to 2008 monitoring that I could find data we're from the conservation district as well. So I'd really like to follow up on those sites and see how those things have changed. But also the map. I'm just really, I love mapping and I love data and being able to visually show people. And, like with the Glass Creek, I was trying to figure out why was that scoring so poorly? It's such great habitat. What's upstream that's causing this? So then I found that gravel pit, and just like finding things like that are really exciting. So I hope to delve into that a little bit more. And it'll be nice with the 319 grant that we're getting to see if that changes anything, because I know if you're familiar with Thornapple Lake, they experience a lot of beach closures due to E. coli, both human and bovine or other animals. So it'll be interesting to see if the macros upstream and downstream show a difference after those septics are remedied.
Yeah, I love that you're tying your macro program to what you will be doing in your 319 program. And I'm guessing when you got that 319 money, the macro program was something that you talked about in your application. So all of this like kind of builds on each other and helps each other. Okay, question from Joyce Durdell. Could you tell us again the name of the site name for the dam removal? And when was it removed, and were there previous water quality monitoring prior to removal?
Yeah, so the dam removal it's the Nashville Dam, and it is actually, if you are familiar with the village of Nashville at all, it's right behind Good Time Pizza, which served us well for after our monitoring events. They have a pinball machine, which is fun. So the dam was removed in 2009, which is far before my time here at the district. I've done a little bit of research into that project, but I can't remember any of it right now. We do have that information on our website at berrycd.org. So if you're interested in more about that dam removal project, it is right on our front page, I believe towards the bottom.
This question will take you too long to answer, so that's fine. That maybe we'll have to have a follow-up seminar about this. But Hannah Lipinski is interested in your interactive map. I mean, in 2 minutes, can you just give like a top level? How did you make that map? What
Yeah,
programs?
totally.
What layers?
Absolutely. So, and it did take a lot of finessing for some of them, because if you've been in the MiCorps data, you can download the Excel sheet. But not all sites have a lat long. And so I use ArcGIS Online. I initially used ArcGIS Online to create the map, but I also do use Pro sometimes just because I have access to it. But if you don't, and well, actually, I don't know how many people have access to online either, but ArcGIS Online is a great tool for people like me who don't necessarily know a lot of GIS skills, but I know how to put a layer on a map and how to make it look pretty and change the pop-ups and things like that. So that map is publicly available on berrycd.org/water quality. So you can play around with it in there and kind of explore it. So for some of the sites, especially in the cold water, they didn't have lat long. So I did a lot of guesswork, just looking at maps based on the names of their sites, where I could see the creek was, and then I would just look at, okay, how would they access this site? So I looked at a lot of road streams, crossings on Google Maps, and I just kind of made things up from there. So the cold water sites are not all exact, but they're probably pretty close, if not exact. The other ones, though, have the lat long. So ArcGIS will pull those, and that's how it locates its points. And then I originally had all of the categories from very poor, fairly poor, all of that. And some of the feedback I got from internally here was to condense those a little more into just the 4 categories. And I think that makes the map a little bit easier to read and slightly less overwhelming. It's still a lot. So hopefully that is enough. But yeah, email me if you want to know more about the map, and we can talk about that.
Actually, why don't Oh, okay. Well, Joe put up your website in the chat so everyone can see it. You don't necessarily have to put up your actual email in the chat for
Oh,
everyone, but 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 what I can do is like I'll go back and I can connect people directly. Maybe people can email me. With my email is very easy to find in public on the MiCorps website, and I can connect people together so you can have longer conversations if needed. Um, you are welcome to take this question, Rachel, or I can answer it. You tell me. How do you calculate your water quality rating?
oh, I mean, I just use the data sheet, but I'm sure you have a much better answer than that.
Oh, yes, I could talk about it forever. Okay, so this is a question by Victoria McGuffin. If you're interested in knowing how MiCorps calculates water quality, go to our website and then go to the stream documents, look for our data sheet, and it essentially on the data sheet there is a formula that you use. What it is each different type of macroinvertebrate is assigned a sensitivity score, and it becomes a weighted average. It's the abundance of that particular macroinvertebrate, multiplying it by the sensitivity score. You add everything together, you divide by the total number of macroinvertebrates you found, and it gives you the score of 0 to 10, where 0 would be like pristine, perfect, no one could ever have a stream that nice. Well, and a 10 would be you have 100% leeches, right? So, like, most streams fall in Michigan, most streams fall, like, our best stream is probably a 3. In the Ausable, I think that's where I normally see those scores come from. And then there's plenty of 10s in Michigan as well. So, this is kind of nice to see how yours fall. Um, four is a very good high quality stream, and it looks like your best site is a looks like about falls at about a 4. So okay, one we have time for one more question. So uh Elizabeth Haber asks, could you share some information about the timeline you used for planning the development of your QAP up to the first sampling event? Yeah, if you can think back to 2024, what was the timing involved in those steps?
Geez, I wish I had my work plan with me. I think it was the first couple of months, and I did not write the QAP myself. Matt Bain helped us with that. I leaned very heavily on Matt throughout this entire project. He is our macroinvertebrate specialist. He knows all of this MiCorps stuff so well. So I leaned heavily on him for that QAP and kind of just reviewed it. So if you're not familiar or don't have experience with that, I'm sure we could share ours. I don't see why that would be an issue to kind of help guide. But yeah, usually the first few months there, and then yeah, we held our first event at the end of September. I don't tolerate cold very well, so I didn't want to have to get out in October, although I know it might have been better. So, and then you just have to stay within that 2 weeks. So as long as you give yourself enough space there to get the QAP done, and then still have, if you're planning for the fall or the spring, just have a couple month buffer to make sure that the QAP's okay.
It is intensive those first couple of months because you're both recruiting volunteers and you're trying to figure out the procedures and training your volunteers. But once you get established, the time frame of the actual work that you have to do kind of shrinks to 2 or 3 weeks worth of like heavier work, and then it goes quiet for months.
Yeah.
But yeah, those first couple months can be an intense, and that's why we offer grants, because it will cost thousands in staffing when you kick off a program like this. So
yeah, not to mention all the purchases and all the things you
yeah,
got to,
all the
yeah,
equipment.
find the
Rachel,
wrong
thank you
jars.
very much. We appreciate you being here and presenting for us.